In your relationships, do you ever feel the burning urge to prove that you are right, to have the last word, to shut the other person down, and maybe to feel like you've won the argument? Now, this is very normal. So if you're listening to this thinking, well, I do actually, okay, don't panic. This is really normal, but it's not very helpful or healthy for you or the other person. So if this is happening a lot in your personal, intimate relationships, so maybe with your partner, maybe with your children, maybe with family members, then pin your ears back. But also, if it's happening in your business life and your work life, pin your ears back as well. Because relationships are what life is all about. So humans, we're meant to connect with other people, we're meant to feel safe when we do, and good and okay and pretty comfortable. Now, of course, there's always going to be moments where somebody says or does something and we feel a small rocket or volcano erupt inside, or we feel hurt, or we feel sad, or confused, or this is just part of being human. That's okay. So, number one, okay that we get triggered and we have feelings. That's normal. But the bits that are unhealthy and unhelpful in relationships is when we do, I guess, one of either thing. One, we bite our tongues and we don't retaliate, and we feel kind of good and like we're the good one because I bit my tongue. Well, what you've just done in biting your tongue is you've just swallowed a whole lot of toxic, poisonous energy down into your body. So biting your tongue, if you want to really understand that, there's a great book by Gabor Mate called When the Body Says No. It may freak you out a bit, but if you really want to understand what biting your tongue or saying yes and being the pleasing one all the time does to you, that's the book to read. Then number two is, I'm not going to take that, and I have an opinion on this and they need to know it, and I'm going to set them straight, and I'm going to prove, make sure I don't fall down a big thing in the wood now. I'm going to prove that I'm right because, they really need to understand this. Or we might go down the real ego-driven route with this as well of, but I do know better and this will be helpful for them in the long run if they understand blah, 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 blah. Now, this is not good for your health because it takes you on a massive adrenaline-fueled, charged journey where in the end you just end up exhausted, feeling very depleted and bloody miserable, or you just keep going and you smash into a brick wall because guess what? The other person is doing the same back at you, or they're getting very, very shamed by what you're doing, and they're now full of toxic, shaming, miserable, low energy. So, of course, this is not going to foster a lovely, healthy relationship with that person ever, especially if you go into, the more ego-driven shaming. But the thing is that you have to consider this, and what you don't know is blah, 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 blah. Again, I'm a fan of the blah, 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 because that's what we do a lot, isn't it? So, what is going to be helpful for your relationships? Again, it doesn't matter who we're really referring to, but the ones in our personal lives I feel are the most important. What's going to be helpful is you getting super curious in a very, very compassionate way towards yourself, because this is the most important relationship we ever have, about why, when my partner or my child or my colleague or my sister, mother, whoever it is, does that, do I get so angry, so hurt, so confused, so disappointed, all of that? Now, you may not have the answer to that question, but the first important step is that you start to notice what happens inside of you. Because They are just being them. Now, they might not be a very pleasant version of them, but they are just being them. Our unraveling comes when we don't focus on ourselves. We go to war on them, or we withdraw from them. No. This is about you. So it begins with you. I'm allowed to feel whatever I'm feeling, but isn't that interesting that them behaving in that way set off this massive stuff in me? And then you work on yourself. You work on yourself to be a much calmer, more grounded, less reactive version of you. So my basic thing that I say to many people in different versions, some with more swear words than less, than others, is whatever someone is doing. So unless it's dangerous, of course, that's a whole different ball game. But whatever someone is doing, pause. Take a breath, even if it's a tiny one. Do something that just settles you. And then be curious about yourself. So that's the most important thing. And you taking a breath means you're much less likely to have this big reaction, maybe be nasty or whatever it is, and focus on you. Going to war on them, it's never going to bring anything good. Being fed up with them, disliking them, all that stuff is just more poison and toxicity in you. So get curious about you, maybe find someone to work with. I mean, I do a lot of coaching around this, because you start to have a peaceful, wonderful life, no matter what other people are doing, when you start to feel calm, safe and good in your own self.